Looking to create a budget in an Excel spreadsheet? Stay tuned. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe, comment, and always look down in the description for pertinent links. If you've been wanting to create a budget and not really sure how, if you want to do it on paper or what, uh, let's start using Excel. It's pretty simple. It's not the best in the world, but it's pretty nice. So I'm going to step you through how I create a budget in Excel and just some of the techniques and how to use it. So let's dig in. What we're going to do is create some headers. For me, I like to be able to create everything in the top header with bold and underline. It's not required to do that. I just like to make it look that way, just to be a little bit nicer looking. But we'll start off by naming the first column what your expenditure is for each month. So we'll just call it the expense name. And the second one, we'll just call it the due date. And this does not have to be formatted to be a date. We're just really trying to track or just keep up with, like, if it's on the first of the like if it's a month, if it's the first, if you pay the bill, or if it's the second, or the 15th or something like that. So we'll just put simple numbers in this column here. The next one will be the total balance. In other words, if you have a credit card or your house payment, let's say the house payment is $120,000, we'll just put the balance in this column for each expenditure item. And you can just highlight the columns and double click like I'm doing here, and that'll kind of size it if you're not used to using Excel. And then the last column will make it the monthly payment, which you're actually paying per month for each expenditure item. As you can see here, the monthly payment is wider than the header's wider. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to highlight it and just double click that edge, and then that's going to size the column to make it look nice. Now it's time to go ahead and put our expenses in there, the expenditures. I'm going to speed this process up as far as entering the data, because you're going to know the data that you're going to have to enter for your budget record keeping. Now, as far as the credit cards, I'm doing this on my own because that's how I do my budget. You don't have to do it this way. You can just list them in the same column without setting them separate. But for me, because I have quite a few, I just create a little header in the same column, just kind of a new column in the same column, basically. But excuse me, uh, this is just one way of doing it. I'm just going to list out two cards here just to keep it kind of simple. Now, one thing that I meant to mention is in the total balance and the monthly payments, just as far as the decimals points are concerned, in Excel it'd probably be easier to format both of these columns in currency. You get the dollar sign, which isn't really necessary, you're just really interested in numbers, but you'll get the dollar sign and it'll place the decimal uh, in the right place. Now, one thing I do like to do is I like to color code things to make things a little easier to, as far as visually. So I'll go up here and I'll highlight all the text in red for the payments that are going out. You'll then want to be able to go ahead and create a total field. This will be for the total of all the monthly payments. You can name it whatever you can name it, just total or total monthly payments or whatever you want to name it. And usually what I'll do to correlate with the monthly payments that are going out, I'll go ahead and highlight that text as well and put it in red. That way uh, it just makes sense. So you're saying your total monthly payments are in red, and then we'll do a total. And here I'm going to show you how to do a sum in this column. There's several ways of doing it, so we'll just go with this method here, hitting the function key, and then you're going to tell it you want sum. Just click on sum and hit OK. Now you have to kind of slide out of the way, but what you're going to do is highlight your cells that you want to be able to add up or create the sum of. And all you have to do is just hit OK, and then instantly there's your total. And again, I'm going to probably go ahead and highlight that at some point here and put it in red so that I know that that is my total outgoing payments. Then we'll go ahead and create a monthly income, because it's not going to do very much good if you don't know what your income is per month. And I'm going to go ahead and color code it in green. It will say so whatever's coming in is in green, whatever's going out is in red. So let's say that you're making $32,000 a year. That should be around $2,666 per month if you're making around 32, bringing home $32,000 a year. That's take home after deductions and taxes and all the sorts of things. So now you're going to want to know what your net is. And of course, net's just the difference between what you're bringing home and then subtract whatever you're having to pay out. And we can also color code that here in just a second. So, and now we're going to do another formula in Excel where we're going to subtract your monthly payments out of what your monthly income is. To start the formula, we'll go ahead and put an equal sign in this field. Excel knows that we're going to start a formula. So what we're going to do is type equals, and then we'll click on our monthly income. It's saying the larger number, and then we'll type in a minus sign, and then click in the cell of your monthly payments. And then all you have to do is just hit the enter key, and then there's your total. And that's what you have left over every month based on this scenario. We'll go ahead and highlight the text. We'll maybe put it blue. It would have probably been smarter to go ahead and highlight the text when I had the color fill up at the time. That way I didn't have to go look for the colors again. But as you can see, by color coding, it gives you a visual idea, and it's just whatever colors you want to make it. It doesn't have to be what I've made it. This is just for an example. Now I said the larger number first and the smaller number, but your monthly income, you may end up finding you have a problem here. It always is the monthly income then minus the monthly payments. So it may turn out that you have a negative number showing that you are not making enough money to pay all your bills. But I just want to make that clear. It's always the monthly income minus the monthly payments. As I mentioned, I do like to color code things to kind of get a visual perception of what you're working with. So let's deal with fixed expenses. Fixed expenses are like your mortgage payment, car payments, insurances, things that are a monthly static payment. I mean, you pretty much know that your mortgage is going to be set, like in this case, $750 a month. Now, I also want to color code for variable expenses. Variable expense is things that will change month to month. Um, I mean, your water bill probably would stay close to the same, but if you live in a larger family, this can vary quite a bit, just depending on what's going, especially if you have teenagers. Um, the electric bill will definitely change due to the environment that you live in. Entertainment's another thing. I mean, entertainment's anything like from going bowling to going to a ball game, watching a movie, things like that. Savings should be at least 10% of your income. So basically, like I said, um, in this scenario, you're making $32,000 a year. So 10% of 32,000. And like I said, it's up to you. You could be 15, 5%, but the rule of thumb is 10%. But 10% of 32,000 a year is 3,200. You break $3,200 down per month. That's $267. If you'll notice, I set savings as a fixed expense because it's highlighted in the green. I mean, it could vary. I mean, it could be a variable expense if you don't really know what kind of income you have, especially if you're like on a commissions or tips or something. If that's your type of income. But let's just base this on you have a steady paycheck. So we'll make savings an expense. I know that sounds crazy, but meaning you're going to take a savings as an expense. You're going to set a certain amount of money to put back each month to become your cushion. Now these figures show a pretty wide berth, like you have a lot of extra money, but in the case if you didn't, um, if you were putting back so much money a month for a savings, you can use that savings to pay off credit card balances, or if for things that you want, like to go on a trip, or to go towards extra entertainment for that matter, or go out to eat. But that's what you would put a savings back for per month. In this case, based on $32,000 a year, you get $267 a month out of that percentage, out of that 10% percentage. And like I said before, um, it can be if you're making pretty good money, you could say 20%. But this is just an example to give you an idea that you do want to put savings, because this is the crucial piece of a budget. You want to have savings in order to be able to build money up per month to buy the things that you want, because that's the whole purpose of a budget, is to build money up to buy the things that you want, not what you need. Budgets are also good for being able to track your expenses. Even if you're not being able to put a whole lot back to save, um, at least you can track your expenses and see where you can improve. Now, in this case here, where I have set the credit cards separate, I want to go ahead and color code them to some color here. The reason why I've separated them and I'm kind of setting them aside is because these are credit cards and you will be able to pay them off, at least we hope. And when you do, you can either remove them out of your expense column, or you can just set the total balance to zero. Especially if you plan on using them again. But that's why I set them aside, is because these are expenses that will eventually go away. In this scenario here, with all the savings that you have per month, you should be able to use that money, because right there, your net's already enough to pay off your retail store card, and that's already after putting back $267 in your savings. So you can see how how budgeting works, because when you lay it out, it's visual for you. Um, it makes things a little clearer on how to spend your money, where you need to put your money at. A lot of people don't want to know what they're spending a month. Now, what I'm going to do here, and this is something just totally extra, and you don't have to do it, but it will help if you have a lot of expenses. Like I said, this is just real short, brief, but what I'm going to do here is create a color graph to basically state what each of these colors mean. Like I had that green for fixed expenses, and then the blue I have for variable expenses, and then that manila, or rather that orange color that I've got the credit cards in, that's for credit cards. Red, of course, means money going out. Green means money coming in. Blue means money that is your net, or what you have got left over. Again, all the color codes are just for tracking or to visualize your expenses, what type of expenses, what you have coming in, what you have going out. Uh, Totally optional. The colors are just what I picked. You can pick whatever colors if you even pick colors at all. I mean, this can be done on a piece of paper with a pencil, so this is just kind of a fancy way. Excel's pretty nice. You have all sorts of calculation tools that are built in it that you can use, and I've just shown you my method. There's many methods of being able to add, subtract, and things like that, but I did want to show you this in Excel. I do want to move on to Google Sheets because not everyone has a local Microsoft Excel loaded on their computer, so and it's expensive as well. So you can go to Google Sheets, and it's free. All you have to do is just create yourself an account to Google and log in if you don't already have one, and go to Google Sheets and start using that. And we'll look at that here in the next video. So stay tuned, and we'll have more.